Somewhere in your neighborhood, there is a crow that knows your face, not your general shape, not a vague human silhouette, not just a person-sized thing that moves upright, your
And
face.
you're next.
Specifically individually, in a way that it can retrieve from memory and act on weeks or months after the last time it saw you. And it has been sharing that information with other crows. This is not a figure of speech. It is not an exaggeration. It is documented, peer-reviewed, replicated science. And once you understand the mechanism behind it, the way you walk past crows on your street or in the park is never quite the same again. Let's start with the research, because the study that uncovered this is one of the most striking findings in animal cognition of the last 2 decades. And it deserves to be told carefully. Scientists at the University of Washington wanted to understand whether crows could distinguish between individual human faces, and whether any distinction they made would persist and influence their behavior over time. They designed an experiment using latex masks. Researchers wore a specific mask, a face the crows would come to associate with threat, while capturing and banding wild crows in public parks around Seattle. A separate neutral mask was worn by researchers who walked through the same areas without disturbing the birds at all. The capturing process was stressful for the crows. They were held, banded, and released. The masked face associated with that experience was logged by the birds, and the logging happened fast. What came next was not what the researchers expected. Weeks later, and in follow-up studies, months and years later, researchers returned to the parks wearing the same masks. The birds that had been captured mobbed the dangerous mask. They dive-bombed it, scolded it with specific alarm calls, tracked it through the park. They did not react to the neutral mask. They had stored the distinction and maintained it across time. But here is the part of the study that changed everything. Crows that had not been captured, crows that were not present at the original banding events, crows that had never had any direct negative experience with that masked face, also began scolding it. Young crows, crows from different parts of the park, birds that had no personal history with the threatening face began responding to it as a threat. They learned it from the crows that did, through behavioral signals, through the specific alarm calls used during the mobbing events, through the social information transmission that is a core feature of crow community life, the knowledge of which face to avoid spread through the population the way any socially transmitted information spreads, horizontally, between individuals who then carry it forward. Think about what this means in practical terms. If you have ever had any kind of negative interaction with a crow, startled one, disturbed a nest, moved too quickly through a group of them on a path, that moment did not end when you walked away. The crow that witnessed it encoded your face. It associated that face with threat or disturbance, and then it started teaching. The crows in your neighborhood, right now, may carry a socially transmitted record about you that you are completely unaware of. Not just about what you did in one moment, but about your pattern over time. Urban crows that have been monitoring a specific neighborhood for years build up layered, detailed files on the humans who appear regularly in their space. Not just safe or unsafe, more nuanced than that. Predictable or unpredictable, interesting or irrelevant. Associated with food or associated with disturbance or associated with something in between that the crow is still working out. The mechanism that makes this possible is worth understanding, because it is genuinely not what most people expect when they think about bird intelligence. A crow's brain, measured by raw size, is small. But when researchers look at the relative size of brain regions associated with complex cognition, the regions responsible for planning, social reasoning, and memory, crows rank alongside primates in terms of the proportion of brain dedicated to these functions. The neural architecture is different from a mammal brain, but it accomplishes the same things through different pathways. For facial recognition specifically, crows appear to use a processing strategy that parallels the one humans use for the same task. They extract distinguishing features from a face and store them in a format that allows rapid retrieval and matching when that face reappears. This is not pattern matching in a simple sense. It is recognition, the same face under different lighting, at different distances, in different contexts, that holds up across months and years. in the University of Washington studies, the recognition held across 5 years of follow-up observations. The same masked faces, years later, were still producing scolding responses from birds that had learned the association. The birds that originally learned it were teaching it to new birds who were added to the population over time. The information survived the individual lives of the birds that first encoded it. Now layer on top of this what we know about how crow communities communicate. Crows have a large and partially decoded vocabulary of vocalizations. Different call types carry different information. There are calls that signal food, calls that signal specific predator types, calls that signal the urgency level of a threat. Researchers have found that the alarm calls produced during a mobbing event encode enough information for other crows nearby to adjust their behavior before they can even see what is being mobbed. The call itself contains the relevant data. When a crow mobs you, or when a crow produces the specific alarm call associated with your face in your neighborhood, every crow that hears it receives an update. The file on you gets distributed. The network that carries information about what is safe and what is not safe in your neighborhood is maintained by the crows that live there, and they are better at their jobs than most people realize. What you can do with this matters, because the files the crows maintain on you are not static. They are updated continuously, based on what you do and how you behave over time. A person who has been classified as unpredictable or mildly threatening can, over weeks and months of consistent non-threatening behavior, be reclassified. The crow is a scientist running an ongoing experiment. Your behavior is the data. The classification is the conclusion, and conclusions can be revised when enough new evidence accumulates. The crow looking at you from the fence is not starting from zero. It is consulting a record. The question is what that record says and whether you want to change it.